I sit in the corner and watch my empty glass.
Triumvirat were a German prog rock band from Cologne, or possibly Köln, if you give it the German name. Like many good prog rock bands, they were formed in 1969 and they lasted until 1980. They had a brief reunion in 2002. They released 7 albums and had more than that different lineups. This is not unusual for prog rock bands. And they were centered around keyboard player Jürgen Fritz. I want to quote something from Wikipedia here. It said, they became, during the 1970s, a key figure in Euro rock, the progressive rock of continental Europe, whose German variant is called krautrock. No, just no. Krautrock is not a variant, was not a variant of prog. It's quite different. There's some overlap. There's quite a bit of cross influence, but it's a bit like saying hip hop is a variant of jazz. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of Illusions on a Double Dimple by Triumvirat, and this is a hidden gem review. So most of the reviews on this channel are I'm working my way through a list at a website called Acclaim Music, where the fine people there have created this list of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time. It's not their opinion, it's done by amalgamating scores and from critic lists from a long period of time, all the way back from the start of albums, basically. Effectively, they've done what Metacritic have done in more recent years, but they've managed to extend it back to cover previous albums as well. So I'm working my way through that, and I stopped at number 3,000. I'm just over 1,000 through, so just over a third through. Will I make it? Who knows? I'm still going, so yeah, okay. However, sometimes I step off that to do an album that I want to review, and this is one of those, and it's one of those albums that I think not many people have probably heard of. I think is a good album and worth a little bit of more exposure. And so I call these hidden gems, and that's what this is. Thank you for bearing with me through that long introduction. Let's actually get into the album. So this was the second album by Triumvirat. I discovered it a few years ago. I seem to have these kind of phases where I go through discovering certain areas of music, and at one point I got kind of fairly deep into quite a lot of prog rock that I've never come across before, and this was one of those. And I was drawn to it particularly because I love the cover on this album as well, but then I found that I enjoyed the music as well. It's definitely progressive rock, no argument about that. There's long tracks, so tick that box. There's virtuoso musicianship, so tick that box. The kind of, sweet tracks they've got, so tracks that are made up of several different things to form a kind of bigger track. It's quite reminiscent of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, and The Nice, which is Keith Emerson in both of them. Mostly because it's centered on the keys, and quite a bit of that is tone wheel organ sound, which is what Keith Emerson is particularly known for. There are bits of guitar in here, but there's not much at all. There's a real emphasis on keyboards. There's, as I say, tone wheel organ, sometimes known as a Hammond organ. There's some piano, there's electric piano, there's synth, quite a bit of synth actually. And then there's some more kind of stringy backing sound, which sounds not like a big string section, just like a few, kind of got a slight ELO feel at times with that. So in fact, so what I do when I do a review is I do a listen, then I read, then I listen. I was fairly, obviously I'd chosen to review this album. I was fairly aware of it, but I hadn't actually read up on it before doing this process. And at that point, I found that they had been accused of being clones of ELP. And they started out by covering songs by ELP and The Nice. This doesn't surprise me in their sound. However, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I like them more than I like ELP. And I'm trying to put my finger on exactly why that is, but maybe we'll get to it. So the musical sounds and structures are similar in complexity. They're very well played. They're somehow, to my mind, a little less show-offy than Keith Emerson is. It's still quite show-offy because it is prog rock, and like jazz, it's a lot of it is about showing off what you can do. Um, but I think it's a lighter overall feel. It's quite fun and optimistic, which often draws me in. So, some description of what's going on here. There's two long tracks, one on each side. Um, and actually, there's two versions of this album around. There's the original version, and then there's a kind of an extended version. And I've actually got the extended version, the one with the extra tracks. So normally, with when I'm doing the acclaimed music reviews, I try and make sure I go for the original, which is usually the first part, and then there's a few things stuck on the end. There are occasions when I change that for very strong reasons, but that's normally what I do. On this occasion, I thought, well, I don't have that need to try and hook into what acclaimed music are doing, or be true to a list. So, which one do I review? Does it really matter? On this occasion, actually, I listened to them both and thought about it. And so I will talk about the extra tracks, but I'll also talk about the two original tracks, which were one for each side. And in my opinion, I think that the original is a better package as an album than the extended version. This is often the case, I would say. So the first side has got several sections, and overall seems to be about a depressed man who loses his job and goes drinking. I'm not quite sure what a double dimple is in this situation, but it sounds like it might be the name for a drink, but I might have got that wrong. The second side, although it's one long song, seems to actually be a running together of several kind of portraits of different people. The first one is Mr. 10% is about a musical agent, I'm fairly sure. But the others, I think, are different people, and I don't know if there's a link between them. I didn't spot it. And then, of course, we've got within the lyrics here long and varied instrumental sections, as you'd expect from prog rock. Interestingly, the singing, whose Hans felt Batalt maybe, doesn't sound German accented. His name sounds like it's a German name, but his singing sounds like he's from the English South. So I don't know how that's come about. Either maybe it's just got extremely good English. He does some different voice work in here. It's a bit like Peter Gabriel used to do in Genesis. Yeah, so the extra tracks, let's talk about them. So there's four of them. There's Dancer's Delight and Timothy, they're both pretty good. And then the other two extra tracks are single edits of sections from the first two tracks, which would work as standalone, but I find that when you have multiple versions of something on an album, it always makes it slightly strange doing that. So overall, my feelings about this album, obviously I've chosen to review it because I like it. I think it's well done. I think it's happy. I think it's competent. It's got a bit of a sense of humour. It kind of ticks a lot of my prog itches. And I think it deserves to come out from under the shadow of ELP and have a little bit of airplay for its own right. So that's what I think of this album. If you know this album, please let me know what you think of it. If you don't know this album and fancy a listen, please do that on there. Why not let me know what you think of it by leaving me a comment? That's it from me for now.